This was not America's State of the Union, it was Donald Trump's state of delusion. He SAT up there, he has a huge ego, he loves saying, patting himself on the back. But the average American was sitting there saying, I'm paying 6% more for electricity. I'm paying 10% more for meat. Health care bills are going up. And Donald Trump isn't even talking about it. In fact, he had so little good to say about what he's doing that he had to spend so much of the time talking about really true American heroes that he had nothing to do with. He'd had nothing to do with the hockey team, for instance, winning and they're great. This speech was an utter failure for Donald Trump. It was a lot of hype, it was a lot of fluff, but when you're having a rough time paying the bills and you hear your president mocking you because of that, you get angry. This speech was a disaster for Donald Trump because he's in such a bubble. He is not talking about what the American people care about. Contrast, she was right on the money, focusing on what Americans care about, and that's, anywhere you go, you can hear this, and that's why Donald Trump has the lowest popularity numbers he's had in a long time. He's in this bubble, he scratches his own ego, but he doesn't do anything to help the American people. The amount of the speech that was on the economy, that was on things that really make people's lives better, was minimal. And when he talked about it, it was a bunch of lies. For instance, he says manufacturing jobs have gone way up. They're down 100,000 since he took office. He says the job creation is up. Job creation is the lowest it's been in a non-recessionary year since 2003. He's in a bubble, but it don't work. It don't work, Donald Trump, because the bottom line is the American people want a way out of their crisis of affordability, and you've provided no path. Just a lot of ego and back-patting. Leader Schumer, good morning. As he has at many rallies, Donald Trump mocked the idea of affordability, saying the Democrats discovered this word and invented it. His White House has tried to get him to go out on this affordability tour, and he mocks it at these events as an idea suggesting that the economy is at an all-time high. We've done an exhaustive fact-check this morning, refuting a lot of what he said last night. How focused are you as Democrats, and will you be going into these midterm elections on that issue of affordability? It's the most important issue. Some call it affordability, some call it the high cost of living, but everyone knows what it is. Last night, even during the State of the Union, I'm sure there were tens of millions of American families sitting around the table saying, how am I going to pay these damn bills? Can't afford it. Do I not pay my electricity bill? Do I not buy my cars broken down? Do I not get my car fixed up? That's what Americans care about. Spanberger hit the bullseye. She talked exactly about what people care about and asked the American people, are things better for you today than they were when he took office? And the answer is a resounding no from compromise solutions. We're so far from legislating the way our founders meant legislation to move forward. I'm curious, could you recommend for the president, 1 or 2 areas where if he decided that he didn't have to work without Congress, if he decided to follow the Constitution of the Madisonian checks and balances, what would be an issue that you and I think the president could work on? 1 or 2 issues. Well, the bottom line is, first thing you ought to do on healthcare is extend the tax credits, which are raising healthcare costs for the average American by $500 to $1,000 a month. He could do that himself on the area. We Democrats are campaigning on the issues of cost, high cost, chaos like we see in the streets of our cities because of ICE and corruption, which we've just talked about. His cabinet members, his cronies making billions of dollars. It said Donald Trump has supposedly told people he wants to be the richest man in America. And he's taking taxpayer dollars and government processes to do that. And that's corruption of the highest order. So he could join us on any of these on an ICE, very simple, do what every police department is doing right now. No masks, warrants before you bust into somebody's house. And he's doing that to American citizens. To the 2 people who died were American citizens who were shot on the streets of Minneapolis. He could do those in a minute. He doesn't. He's in his I have heard the administration. Joe, he's in his own bubble. He just doesn't get it, and that's the marks of a declining. Be a new president. WHO loses elections and loses. He's going to lose in 2026 because of it. That's even for. I'm curious, what would an immigration deal look like? I'm sorry to keep hammering on this, but at some point the president is going to have to figure out he can't do these things by himself. Whether it's the courts that are cutting him off from doing things that violate the Constitution or basic laws. At some point, he has to come, and if he wants to, you can't get anything done and figure out how to pass legislation. What would an immigration deal look like between Republicans and Democrats in the Senate? Well, we had a good model and 4 Republicans in 2013. As you may remember, bipartisan, John McCain and I headed the Gang of 8. We had 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans including Marco Rubio. WHO has now gone to the other side on this. But we could come up with a bill like that. It toughens up the border. It gives a path to citizenship, a long tough path to citizenship for 11 million people who are here. It allows high-tech people who are needed in our industries to come in, but it was a bill that got 70 votes in the Senate or 68 or 69. It got Democrats and Republicans. That's the way to go. And the business community wants it. You talk to businesses, they're short of workers right now, and that's hurting the economy, and that's what I'm saying, me too. So the leader Schumer, a few hours before the State of the Union, you were part of a Gang of 8 briefing on Iran. Secretary of State Rubio Director John Ratcliffe presented what the administration is. I know you can't get into details of what they talked about, but afterwards you said the administration needs to make its case to the American people. President Trump last night decidedly did not. He only mentioned Iran for about 2 or 3. He said very little. What are your thoughts, concerns right now about the situation with it? Was a little bit of a massive American armada, the biggest since the Second Gulf War, currently near Iran. Yeah, look, the bottom line is I can't say very much about it. It was a classified briefing, but it was very serious what they talked about, and they ought to lay out their plan and goals to the American people, plain and simple, and he didn't even talk about it. It was so typical of the speech. Any of the serious things facing the American people, he didn't talk about. It was all hype, it was all fluff, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Maybe if the economy is doing great, maybe if all these other things are happening and the American people are happy that they can afford to pay their bills, it might have been just a nothing burger. But the fact that there is such trouble in so many places and he doesn't even talk about them it's just appalling, but not just appalling to Democrats in the House and Senate. It's appalling to the American people. And the people are saying it. All right, Senator, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chuck Schumer, thank you so much. Let's hope we can get you back. And I think most Americans, Republicans, Democrats would love to get you back into the country and get Republicans back and start talking about an immigration deal. Start talking about a healthcare deal, start talking about the things we've been discussing this morning. Thank you so much. Joe, I wish you best of luck on that. You heard Donald Trump last night. He doesn't sound like he wants to talk to Democrats except scream at them with a lot of stupid. He doesn't seem to want to do that. The American people want us to talk and we're happy to do it. We want to do it. I think the American people do want you to talk and I think it can happen, so I wish you the best of luck on that. And let me just say, at the beginning of spring training, I wish you absolutely the worst luck this season with the New York Yankees. Thank you so much. We have not had a great New York year, but I will say Yankees are going to come back and do much better than last year. My hope. God willing. Okay, we need some help. I don't think it's going to take a little bit of the economy. Still ahead on morning, God willing. Donald Trump has mused and joked about third RMS more than any president in history, and it gets less funny every time he does it, but that didn't stop him from doing so again in his State of the Union last night. So, in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. Look at little Mike Johnson chuckle in there in the back. Of course, Trump lost in 2020. We all know that. He can't run again, at least not legally, but he's been dropping hints about what comes next for his party and his movement, no matter how obviously uncomfortable the options are. In his speech last night, Donald Trump also profusely praised his vice president, JD Vance, who once called him America's Hitler, I would note, as well as his Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who once called him a con artist. Trump has also reportedly been polling advisors and confidants on which one of them should succeed him in 2028. So naturally, when I sat down with Governor Gavin Newsom, I asked him what he thought about those two potential MAGA successors. There are some people waiting in the wings in the MAGA world who would love to be the chosen ones of the Trump orbit. JD Vance is one of them, Marco Rubio is one of them. Do you think they can carry on the MAGA flame here? No, but Vance for whatever reason scares me. Why? Almost more than Trump. I don't know. I mean, talk about a guy who put a mask on and his face grew into it. I mean, JD Vance and Marco Rubio were two of the most effective critics, just like that guy. What's his name? Graham Lindsay of Donald Trump. What frauds. What phonies. But JD and the folks around him, these are not folks that believe the way they talk. There's a nihilism to the way they talk about the world. I know these guys. I literally know them, not figuratively know them. Some of them are in the book. Knew them back when. So again, I don't want to be overly hyperbolic about with the debate with Vance. There's no damn way on earth. So he's going to try to run this out until right after the end, until he can pick and choose who goes behind him, or God forbid we don't take back the House of Representatives. He may be on that ballot. He'll try. I just wouldn't put it past him. I mean, look what he does. It's the old adage, once a mind is stretched and never goes back to its original form. What he does, he tests all this. He throws the stuff out, sees how you're going to react. If you don't react, all of a sudden it's socialized. Now it's normalized and he'll just, that's why it's so important that we not just say, oh, Trump's being Trump. Perhaps those are the most damning words in the English language right now. It's not Trump being Trump. You've got to call it out. None of this is, and that's why the folks at Fox are such a disgrace, because they know better. And we don't think they know better. We know they know better. What was that big lawsuit where they had to settle? We saw all their emails, we saw all their text messages. We saw what they're saying behind his back. And they're complicit because they're making a ton of money because that's all it's about. It's about their grift as well. Sorry, Jen. It's a world we're up against. I think it's important, and you've been calling it out for people to be clear-eyed about what he is capable of. You said this week there will not be a fair and free election in the United States of America as we know it unless we win back the House of Representatives in November. They outlined this a bit, but what do you mean by that specifically as people are trying to understand what that looks like? What does it look like in the season leading up to 2028? What is the one thing he connects all the dots to the people he admires? They all have one thing in common: they are competitive authoritarians. Or behind Putin. The rest, I think Putin got 87.3% of the last vote. They love elections. I said fair and running the election rolls. What is that about? Wake up folks, what's the save ACT about? I was just down in the south. It's not just about IDs, it's about registration. WHO can vote. This is Kurto recommended in the south. It's not blinking yellow, it's just code red. It's happening faster than it happened in Hungary. It's happening faster than other talkovers in other countries including Turkey. It's happening faster in real time. Look what's happening to media right now. Look what's happening, and it's the chill of free expression of speech. It's not what's said, it's now what's not said, the stories that are not being pursued, the contracts that are not going to be renewed. It's him telling Susan Rice she needs to resign. There's no merger. The hell is that? So much deeper than Kimmel. This is serious. Fair and free elections. How about democracy, freedom, free expression, free speech? All of it code red in this country, and my fear is we get so easily distracted and they're so effective on the other side, and so it's just we must continue to be mindful, laser focused on what's in front of us every single day until the job is done. The Constitution is very clear about Trump being able to run for a third term, and of course states run elections. But you, as you said, you've grappled with this. You thought about it. You dealt with some threats around Prop 50. What should every state be doing right now? What do you wish every state was doing to prepare for everything you just outlined? Well, I think it's about a state of mind, a vigilance. They have to double down on all their voter protection. They have to double down on what the Registrar of Voters is doing and not doing as it relates to election security. And that's county by county. It's bottom up, not top down. States play a big role, Secretary of States do as well, but the registrars in each county play an even bigger one. We have to make sure all of these campaigns, but also our party broadly, just people WHO believe the party, the party, the Americans maintain their vigilance as it relates to legal defenses and strategies. To make sure we call this out, we've got to push back against these purges of the voter rolls and the attacks on truth and trust. It's about creating so much distrust that he can create the conditions where then he can intervene and say, there shall not be. I'll tell Speaker Johnson, they may lose by 65 seats. Say, well, you won't sit any of them because we have proof in these 4 places that this was a rigged election, and try to play this out in the United States Supreme Court, and we've already have 3 members that will literally are so supine. I don't even have my new Trump signature series knee pads are not large enough for those 3 justices. That's how real this is. It's happening on our watch. It's 2026. It's not 1906. It's not 1896. Some chilling words there.